meditation sessions. Let's do it. Go. Okay. So we're going to do some very mild embodiment stuff to begin with, just a little bit. So I want to begin by just moving in circles. You get to move in your own circle, how big you want. You don't have to follow me. But we're doing these, what I would call Indian butter churn. It's the butter churn kind of circles. And they don't have to be huge, and you don't have to be doing big stretching or anything. They can be, but you can also just do little tiny ones if that feels good. So I'm going to get that circle motion in there. And then let's do it with our shoulders. Again, this is not so much about like stretching, but more like just waking up the embodiment. Letting your body remember you're there. Letting you remember your body's there. So then you do your elbow circles, and you can combine them with the shoulder circles. There's no right way to do this, but thousands of wrong ones. And then the neck. Mine sounds like I have a bag of marbles, shaking it. And then don't forget wrists. And if you want, you can do wrists and elbows and shoulders all at once and look really silly. You can do your fingers too. And just let it be loose, open, pleasant. Just saying hi. Hello, buddy. Now, free form, whatever movement you want to do. I know someone who teaches this whatever movement you want to do thing as a way to find your career. So it's like, what if you find yourself doing this a lot? Maybe you should be writing, that kind of thing. So you could find a new career right now doing this. Okay. Now, as usual, begin by just checking in with yourself. What's it feel like to be you right now? What's it feel like? There is no right answer, simply, and no wrong answer in this case. Simply notice what it feels like to be you. Take the internal weather report, check out where your head is at, where your heart is at, where life is at, all that sort of thing. And let however it is be just right. So however life is right now, that's the way it should be in this moment. We can always change it another time, but for now, the weather is what the weather is. So just let that be just right. And just keep checking in. This is just a very simple process of tuning into how you feel. Okay, sometimes we chant at the end. We're going to chant at the beginning here just to raise some energy. So this is energetic chanting. We're being loud and letting space itself just manifest the mantra of the Bodhisattva of compassion as usual. So this is Om Mani Padme Hum. Remember, we don't want to stop in between. It's not Om Mani Padme Hum and then everyone takes a deep breath. So we're kind of breathing at different points so that as a whole, as a group, the thing just keeps going with no pause from one mantra to the next. We're going to do this for a few minutes. And remember, the idea is uplift, energizing, and also, of course, checking in with that level of openness and welcomingness and open-heartedness. That is, of course, the essence of this mantra. In working with mantras, the mantra is not separate in any way from the actual being. So when you're saying this mantra, that is Avalokiteshvara in the sound itself. So chant it clearly, chant it powerfully. Join me now. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Padme Hum, Om Mani 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 Padme Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Padme Hum, Om Mani 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 Om Mani, more energy. Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. Good. Now just ride that bright, clean, clear, open energy into settling the mind, body, and speech in the natural state. So begin by just noticing spaciousness. Mind is naturally wide open, naturally spacious without any effort. So just tune in to whatever part of experience is spacious right now. Maybe some parts are really contracted and tight and tense and all that, but look around that, there's tremendous space. That contraction is happening within vast openness. So just tune into that openness that is already always there. Imagine we're sitting like the sky, just sitting, being the sky. The sky does not make any effort to be the sky, it just is that way. In the same way, this vastness, this openness, this spaciousness, boundlessness is already there. When you're not tightly focusing down on something on purpose, which is effortful, and you just relax that effort, then the mind just falls open like the sky. If you want to, you can use a background sense of the breath as just a very mild anchor. But we're not tuning into the breath, we're not focusing on it. If anything, we just notice that the breath is coming and going. Nothing more than that, just very subtle flutter of the breath rising and falling, like wind in this vast open sky. Very good. So stay with that sense of this boundless, sky-like mind. But let's add to this stillness. Just notice that within all the upheavals of the mind and body and emotions and so on, somewhere in there, there's a real sense of stillness. Usually quite a background sense of tremendous stillness. And it's a very relaxed stillness. It's not tight in any way. It's very, very loose and open. It still retains that boundless quality. So in this case, we would call this stillness sitting like a mountain. Very relaxed, wide open, tremendously still. Keeping the sky-like openness, we tune into mountain-like stillness. If you're falling asleep, sit up straight, open your eyes. Don't just sit here sleeping. I will come and hit you if you fall asleep. If it's really getting bad, just stand up, but don't fall asleep. Keep just settling into your mountainhood of stillness. Of course, we're not fighting motion, we're just allowing movement against a background of utter, imperturbable stillness. Very good. Now we have sky-like boundlessness, we have mountain-like stillness. Now tune into the silence, the tremendous silence. Again, maybe the core of your mind, there's all kinds of noise, but that's just one little spot in a tremendous sky of awareness. The rest of the whole sky of awareness is silent. So why does that one little spot get so much priority? Notice the vast and deep silence. It's like being way out in the woods in a snowstorm, the windless kind of snowstorm where the flakes are just dropping, big fat snowflakes falling straight down in the middle of the night. Deep silence. Silence that you can almost feel. Tune into that now. Sometimes in the taiga, way out in the mountains, you get these like 40-foot snow drifts filling up crevices and so on. They're just incredibly deep. And way down at the bottom there, there's like a carcass of a caribou or something. And the wolverines will dig down to get those bones. And they make happy wolverine sounds. But then, when they're full, they just curl up 40 feet down under the snow and go to sleep. Silence like that. 40 foot down in a snowbank, all curled up, happy, with your belly full of a meal full of caribou bone and perfectly comfy in this tremendous silence. The night sky is vast, the mountain is still, and everything is quiet. Stay awake. Very good. Now, against this background of stillness, tremendous stillness, vast stillness, notice whatever movement is happening, particularly body movement like breathing, heartbeat, whatever movements are occurring, just contrast that with this utter stillness. Notice how to even be aware of the movement, the stillness must be there. Noticing the body movement makes the stillness clearer. And resting in the stillness highlights the body movement. Even the teeniest, tiniest little movements become clear. The wavering of the spine, maybe quivering of lips just so slightly, eye movement, all against the background of perfect mountain-like stillness. Very good. Now, notice the activity of mental talk, the activity of verbal thought against the silence. This tremendous, tremendous, tremendous silence. Makes the mental talk more obvious, makes it stand out, makes it clearer. And the presence of this sound of internal speech highlights the existence of the background of silence. So notice the sound and the silence. Good. Now notice if the space of the mind contracts or constricts at all. Whenever we get engaged with something, the mind contracts around that something. And so notice that contraction against the background of tremendous spaciousness. And notice how that little bit of contraction actually almost makes the spaciousness clearer or more obvious by contrast. Now notice that both this spacious awareness and the contraction of that are both awareness itself. They're not two different things. Awareness is spacious and awareness is contracted, and spacious awareness is aware of itself as contractedness. They're not actually different, even though we're contrasting them. They're both awareness. Awareness spacious, awareness contracted, it's all awareness. Very good. Now notice this spacious, silent awareness, boundless and incredibly quiet awareness, and the ripples of verbal thought, the sound that moves through the awareness, are both the same awareness. They're not two different things. It's not that there's some kind of perfect awareness that these, dirty little sounds are moving through, sullying it or something. Is awareness as space and awareness as sound, awareness as thinking. They're not different. Or they're different, but they're both awareness. Like waves on an ocean are made of ocean. Ripples of thought in the mind are made of awareness. Notice that the thinking is awareness itself, noticing itself. The thoughts are not sullying awareness, they are awareness. Furthermore, notice that even the movements in the body are contrasted with the stillness, are just movements of awareness. Awareness is aware of movement. The movement is awareness itself. Good. Now, with a background of tremendous spaciousness, allow the mind to naturally constrict or contract and expand, contract and expand, while the background remains always wide open. And at the same time, thoughts are coming and going against the stillness. The thoughts are made of awareness. The stillness is made of awareness. The openness is made of awareness. The contractions are made of awareness. And also, the body movements are happening against the stillness. Stillness, the still background remains still, the body moves. That's just awareness moving. Awareness moving as body, awareness moving as thought, awareness moving as contraction against a still, silent, vast, open, always awake, perfectly pure background awareness that is not separate in any way. There is presence and there is absence, and they're the same thing. Or two modes of the same thing. All movement of every kind just ripples in perfectly still awareness itself. Good. Now turn this awareness of all of this on itself. Let the awareness be aware of itself. Let awareness peer into the place it comes from. Let it see itself clearly. There might be body sensations there, but those are made of awareness. There might be thoughts there, but those are made of awareness. There might be constriction there, but that's made of awareness. Look with this bright, clear, primordially pure, ever-present awareness right at itself. Look even more closely, even more deeply, more penetratingly. Awareness gazing upon itself. Now look carefully. What is this awareness? Look, what is it? What is it? Look at it. What is it? Very good. Now come back to just being a still, silent, open sky. Very simple. Be the sky. Be the sky. Okay, very good. Let's end the meditation there. We only had an hour. Sadly, we could keep going if we had more time. So tonight is a lightning question round. So I'm a mechanical fortune teller at a carnival. Just put a quarter in me and tell me what you want me to talk about, and we'll talk about it. Anybody? Raise a hand with a question or a comment or a very good critique. Yes, what is your name?
Eric.
Eric.
For the mechanical Turk.
Okay. I wasn't going to use that term.
Oh, yes, maybe that's
Continue, please. That is the correct old term, yeah.
I've been participating in your meditations mostly online, and I've just been trying to understand behind the veil.
Sure.
There's some sort of pattern to your week by week meditations, because it seems like I can't quite figure out if you're like trying to lead people toward shamatha or vipassana, or like today it seems like kind of shamatha without a sign, kind of sliding into sort of the vipassana awareness of awareness. If there's a
So we're doing all those things. You mean is week by week? Is there a pattern?
Yeah.
There is, but it's not a logical pattern. So,
it's an illogical pattern.
Well, it's an intuitive pattern.
Okay.
So, but all those structures are there in various weeks. I'm working with different stuff, and if you're working over time, months or whatever with these meditations, then you are gradually working all these different ways. But it's not the case that in January I start with shamatha and then February, not like that.
I guess I'm more used to the traditional first shamatha, and then after that.
Yeah, it turns out each of those, that is a way of working, right? Okay, we're going to do the preliminaries, or even the preliminaries of the preliminaries till we're, then we do the preliminaries, and then we do the shamatha until that's done, and then that's one way of working. But another way of working is to notice that vipassana reinforces shamatha. The more that you see the emptiness of stuff, the easier it is to settle, because the empty things don't bother you as much. So the vipassana actually goes back and reinforces the shamatha. If we're doing inquiry, that helps to reinforce the shamatha and the vipassana. They all actually help each other in different directions. So it doesn't have to be a sequence like that. And in fact, I've found that very often for many people, it's better when it's not a sequence. So because they do kind of synergize off each other like that. So
Do they still end up achieving achieving shamatha? Did you see that?
Let's find out. Certainly making
Sorry,
tremendous,
I'm just curious.
yeah, tremendous depth in that direction for sure. I think if you want to make that for sure happen, doing this kind of stuff, yeah, but now go on a, in a retreat context and do it. But you will find even in that context, I think, doing Vipassana, some of the sits and shamatha and other ones will actually make that much faster. That's just one way of looking at it. Certainly, people who know a lot more than me sometimes want it to be in order like that, but sometimes not. So it's interesting.
You have your own, you're doing it intuitively.
I'm channeling
Okay.
from this, the Space Brothers are telling me what to. Very good. What else? Yes, Steve.
Well, it seemed that the silence is the spaciousness of the sound sense. Are there 6 spaciousnesses? Or one?
Interestingly, when we talk about settling the mind in the natural state, it's silence, stillness, and spaciousness. The other senses aren't usually brought into it. You'd want that, right? That would seem more, I don't know, elegant or something. And I do think that's the case, that, but do you really want to sit here and go, okay, now neutral smell, whatever we would call that, versus real smelliness, like we could do that. Or then we'd have to be like, okay, no taste at all. And what would we call that? And now, the feeling like you licked an envelope like an hour ago in your mouth, kind of thing, like contrast. We could do it, but it's just not as evocative. Okay, so it's something to experiment with. Even the mind sense, like what's going on with that, that's pretty hard for people to contact. But if you can contact that, you can contrast things there also. So good question. I would contend that all 6 of those are there to be looked at, but really 3 of them are primary. Radical. What else?
Yeah, a little bit along that line. You had 2 of the metaphors tonight, the mountain and the sky. The sky is the spaciousness and the mountain is stillness.
Silent was the forest in the snow.
Right. Okay. What's the ocean, which wasn't there tonight?
That can usually be spaciousness.
That's spaciousness. Okay. But it has more form to the spaciousness or something.
You're trying to apply like plumbing to poetry, and if you've seen Dead Poet Society, you're not supposed to do that. So we let these images be evocative in whatever way works for us. Okay, so there's no rule book there. What else? This is too easy. Ruben.
So I believe you talked about everything being made of awareness about 3/4 of the way into the set.
Yeah,
And then you talked
so to
about,
speak. Yeah.
Pardon?
So to speak. Yes.
One was A. And then towards the end, you talked about train awareness towards awareness.
Yes.
Is there a difference between the 2 instructions?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's really easy. It's really easy to. So you've heard me say, you are not in the world is in you. You've heard me say that, right? What do I mean?
Both form and emptiness.
Yes, but I mean, actually, the fullness is coming from the emptiness, not the other way around, right? I mean, it's just a way of inverting body as primary. So in Western context, the body is primary, but in the way we're working, mind is primary, and so it's really hard to dispel that idea that I'm kind of a brain on top of a meat tower, and the consciousness is somehow like a spotlight, like Sauron's eye shining from this meat tower. And we just constantly kind of think that way. And right. And so notice it was first contraction is made of awareness. That's intuitive. Then the mental talk is made of awareness. That's harder, but it's your mind is made of your mind. Okay, we can run with that. But the next one, like even your body sensations are just ripples in awareness. That's breaking the whole dream, right? And then to go even further, but is the awareness on top of the body coming out of a brain in a bone case? Look. So it's going even deeper into the flip the frame into mind being primary, right? And then awareness even more primary than that. Did that make any sense?
Is it fair to say one's bottom up and the other's top down?
Nope. One is body centric and the other one is mind centric. And so we just want to invert that. So the kind of like pith instruction is you're not you are. I can't remember my own instruction. Well, what was I saying? No, you are not in the world. The world is in you. Yeah. So that's where we're going with that. What's your name? Katarine.
So when you were instructing us to go into this nothingness, the spaciousness.
I never said nothingness.
My interpretation.
Yes.
That spacious awareness would immediately take some form and have this like narrative around it. And then I try to like notice, oh, this spaciousness is getting filled up really fast. Are you supposed to just like maintain emptiness? Like, what is the correct dynamic with the spacious was trying to like I'm visualizing what spaciousness is, and that also doesn't seem right.
Right. So that's a whole bunch of work, right? Like the visualization and then trying to keep it bigger than what's filling it and all that. So just drop all that if you can. Don't try to imagine spaciousness. It's not, I mean, that's not even wrong, really. That's a whole Vajrayana way of working, right? Imagine that kind of stuff. So that can get you there, but it's simpler than that. And just notice that no matter how much stuff is filling, if you let go of the image of it has to be inside your head, there's just so much space, it can never be full. Not even close. No matter how much stuff is, there's just no boundary. It's just huge. So part of what makes this more powerful is to notice that you're kind of imagining that it must fit inside your brain.
For some reason today I'm having a difficult time with the concept.
It's not a concept. Right? So that's already, you're trying to imagine boundlessness, but it's an experience. And it's there I don't mean to sound tautological, but it's there the minute you don't imagine a boundary. Right? The minute you're not putting blocks in its way, it's just unblocked, unimpeded. So it may be the case that for now, like a little more of the shamatha first to settle that kind of speedy conceptualization. It's not like a cartoon character, speedy conceptualization, and slow that down and then just let go, then try to notice the spaciousness without quite so much stuff happening. Either that or, really precise vipashyana on what you're imagining the boundaries are. Yeah, good. Yes.
What
Eresh Kagil.
times I've heard you say like vipashyana on this thing, and I just have no idea what that means.
It means see the emptiness of it.
So like, just-
And if that's hard to do, then notice it is a mental construction. Notice everything is it's just what we did. Notice is everything is just your mind. And so if there's something that you're trying to see the emptiness of, another way to do that, if that doesn't mean anything, because that is code language, right? It's like just notice that it's a dream arising in your mind. It's there, it's not there, but it's also not there, right? So there's an experience there, but it's not what you think it is, what you're imputing on it. It's just a hallucination, basically. That's what emptiness means. All of this is, there might be a room here, but what you're seeing is the inside of your mind. So when we see all this, and I say see it, notice its emptiness, it's notice that it's a dream. Again, it doesn't mean there's not a room, but that's not what you're experiencing. Okay? What we're experiencing is our projection. Yes. Paul.
Close enough.
Peter.
Yes.
Mary.
It's more confusing. My full name is Peter De Apollo.
Yeah,
Even better.
I'm always right.
Nailed it.
For once.
I feel like there's this transition where I'm kind of bouncing between this, like, almost like it's dullness, I guess, is the category, right? But it's coming from this sort of like, the fuck is the point? All right, I've experienced this like boundless emptiness, falling through space. There is no ground. Went through like this manic experience. It was fantastic. It was like the best drug I've never done. And then
Did you give away your car or anything?
What?
Did you give away your car or anything?
I mean, similar, yeah. Yeah. Not that specifically, but yeah, exactly. Very generous heart, all this stuff. But then it's like, now I kind of feel like in integrating that, I almost feel like the opposite experience, like this trappedness. Like I'm in VR goggles, I can't take off. And
what's the trap? Be careful, because I've got you now. So
this is the trap. Yeah, I guess yeah, okay. It's like the trap is like, are we simply just pursuing the okayness of the like that this is all of a dream? You know what I mean?
no, that's like stage one. Stage two is then noticing, just like we noticed that, thought is just awareness. Notice that total emptiness of that dream and the vivid, wonderful brocade of the dreamscape are actually the same thing.
Right.
Not that it's just nothing, but that the somethingness is exquisite.
Yeah, I guess I'm not feeling the exquisiteness of the somethingness right now.
There you go.
Yeah.
So do that.
Okay. Just
I mean, seriously, that is the direction.
eat some ice cream.
Yeah, but it's, if you just start out with the somethingness, then as a like mundane, naive, mundane individual, you're just still caught in the total reified somethingness.
Right.
So we have to go to that complete emptiness spot before we then go back around.
Okay. Sweet.
Or sour. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Yep. Good question. Yes.
Yeah, I want to come back to that instruction that you were talking with Ruben about the world coming from you versus
You coming from the world.
coming from the world.
Yes.
So I'm trying to make sense of that.
I'm saying that it is mind primary.
Right.
So think of total subjectivity. You can't experience anything that you're not aware of.
Yes.
And so awareness is primary. Therefore, everything, even the feeling of your body, even ideas about where everything's coming from, all of that is simply happening in awareness.
Yeah, I think what I get stuck on is that like awareness as like solipsistic and not like
That is what pure subjectivity means. And so we're you're right, but the difference is that we still care, right? It's not erasing the mean. That's why I was saying to Peter there is that, not Paul, is that then the exquisiteness of the world becomes hyper poignant, not somehow erased. Okay, so it seems to veer like, whoa, we're going to go into nihilism or solipsism, but it doesn't. It pulls back at the last moment or goes through it to something different. Okay, but it's 100% not about not caring or imagining nothing matters or something like that. That is a mistake. Yes.
Sorry, that just made me think. Could you just then drive the vehicle, whether it's the Maha or the Vajra, whatever vehicle? Couldn't you just drive it towards nihilism? Like the veer would happen automatically.
What the
Like
fuck?
I think I just transcended.
You did. Transcended language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me try to translate what my thought is. But basically, it's like Tom-Lenning nihilism, to put it as dumb as I can, right? Like you're like basically like, all right, let me try to chomp right into nihilism. Let me head right towards it.
You're certainly not. I would say a good way of talking about you're going through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. You came back into the language realm. Yes.
When you had us contrast the subtleties with the stillness or the silence, they did get interesting. Like everything became very wispy and ephemeral. It seemed translucent.
AKA empty,
Yeah.
or at least partially.
It seemed pretty obviously empty for a moment.
Yep.
And it was almost like everything's a wispy solution, a big cocktail of emptiness or something. But it still doesn't quite go to the point where it's self-evident that there's an identity between the wispiness and the awareness. It's still, I just keep taking your word for it, and I just keep looking. Like that's what he's saying.
Okay, so there's the awareness that's aware of it, of this wispy stuff. What's that stuff?
So far, it's like what the awareness is aware of.
Right? What's it made of? What is it?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, all you know is that it's appearing in awareness. And so it's like eventually that becomes obvious. What else could it be?
I don't know. We'll keep looking.
Very good. All right. Thanks for the questions. Hopefully that was helpful in some way to somebody. Now we'll switch over to Katie Devaney, to the Katie Show.
It's all the Katie Show, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware.
No, we talked about solipsism.
Okay, I have so much to tell you all. I don't even know where to start. In fact, I'm not going to be able to tell you all of it. So what you should do after this is, if you're not subscribed to the newsletter, you should sign up for the newsletter, and you could do that on the iPad in the lobby. And if you have any compliments about the newsletter, you can stop DMing them to me, especially if you're in the room, and you could just give them directly to Sasha, who writes the newsletter. We all check his work, but Sasha writes the bulk of it. So he's here tonight. Give him your compliments, please. I've been getting a lot of private messages on Twitter complimenting the newsletter. So yeah, there's a lot in there. And I won't be able to tell you all tonight everything that's coming up. So I'll just pick a couple. The one is, if you haven't registered yet for Tenzin Wangyal Rinpoche, who's going to be here starting tomorrow and all weekend, that's starting to get very close to full. So if you're wanting to come to that, certainly register. For those of you out there in TV land, it's also going to be on Zoom. Zoom is not full, I believe. So you can go to lingmincha.org to register for that. And it's a nice schedule. It starts Friday, 7:30 to 9, and then Saturday, Sunday, it's 9:30 to 5:30 with lunch from like 1 to 2:30. So we'll get some good practice in but you don't have to get here 5 a.m. like some other teachers have you do. Okay, so that's this weekend. And then next Friday, we are very, very lucky to have Ken MacLeod here in this room. He just wrote another book called The Magic of Vajrayana. There'll be copies of the book here. He's going to give a short talk, or as he described it, an AMA, if you will follow the talk. So short talk, and then he's going to be mostly doing Q&A. So bring your questions for Ken, either about this recent book, anything about Vajrayana, anything about his previous books. It's all fair game. So that's here next Friday. And finally, you may have seen, if you follow us on Twitter, you saw my excited tweeting that we finally have an EEG system here. So Alembic Labs is starting up in earnest. If you're interested at all in volunteering for the lab and being part of some of the science projects we're going to be running, or if you're interested in volunteering in the space, either hosting events, or we've got a couple of volunteer-only projects that we're going to be starting up soon, there's a sign-up sheet in the lobby to volunteer. This could be you. You could be doing this. So sign up to volunteer, and I'll brief you on what an alembic is and how to tell people what an alembic is, and then you can do announcements. I think that's all for now, other than if you're here for the first time, we have tea in the lobby after this. So you can say hi to people, talk about how your sit was, stay as long as you like in the lobby for tea. And I'll see some of you this weekend. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Let's sit some more. Just briefly. Thanks, everybody. See you in the lobby. Please feel free to move your zafus and zabutons over to the side.